Hey folks, and welcome to today's video. We are doing a little bit of a hipster build, an ONI-GOROSHI shock base build, which I'm working on. And also I'd like some help. If anyone out there is a path building warrior or a theory crafting god, feel free to drop in the comments below anything that you can think of that might help the build. Trying to do something different this league. I don't have quite as much time to play, so I want to focus on one build and really getting it good. So you can see here what we did was we started to farm an ONI-GOROSHI. Now I'll demonstrate the process of farming the ONI-GOROSHI and I'll talk you through the league start, I'll talk you through the build, and then I'll probably have a little bit of a chat at the end about sort of Crucible as a whole. So if you're unaware, every 1.5 to 2 minutes the Twilight Strand resets. If you don't go into town and you leave after you've killed Hillock will respawn and you'll be back on the beach like so. So the idea was to make a couple characters. I ended up with 4 characters to farm this until basically the league was underway. I was ready to get my Oni drop, and we would basically be good to start the whole campaign with a nice 6-link Oni. Now, when we initially began this process of farming on the beach, and I will jump full screen by the way, just to show you, when we began farming this process of the ONI-GOROSHI, we would make it to Hillock, we would kill him like so, and if he had a big glowy sword, that would be the Uber Hillock, and then you would kill Hillock, you would log out, and you would go to the next one. That's how it was going, right? So when the league initially started, I've had a rough league, guys. This has probably been the toughest league start I've had, and if anyone out there is able to support GGZII with a like, a comment, a subscription, Twitch Prime, becoming a YouTube member to support the cause, you might understand why in a moment. So what ended up happening was we league started the game and everyone else is having fun and they're playing the league start and they're all having a grand old time, and Z is using a Scion with Spectral Throw. Now Spectral Throw was bugged for the first 4 or 5 hours of the league, and it meant that it couldn't really hit anything. And so my first Hillock kill was an absolute nightmare, and I thought I was doing something wrong. And I had 3 Scions and a Templar, sorry, and I was farming and farming and farming, and it just wasn't going well. We then discovered it was bugged. Now, after I'd done this for a good 8 hours, we finally got the character that had the sword, okay? So this character had the sword, and we were good to go. We'd collected some chromes, we were ready to go, ready to blast with our ONI-GOROSHI. Now, the first problem we encountered is you can't put anything on the tree until you use a unique map to basically enable it. So you can see here in the shop, this is my level 1 ONI-GOROSHI, and the tree it ended up with was 0.4 crit, dex, and flat fizz. However, we'd only have just revealed that because it took so long. So I did the whole campaign with no Crucible mechanic because it's a 2-hander. On top of that, what ended up happening is you can see the text here. The key thing about this sword, while in her embrace, you take fire damage, and what her embrace is 123 fizz is fire, no burning ground, no freeze, chill, or ignite, and 20% attack, cast, and move speed. Basically, it gives you onslaught without having onslaught, so then you can have another instance of onslaught. That's how this sword manages to keep up with other swords. Now, the problem was that was bugged, and it wasn't fixed until I think Monday, Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday after work. So not only did we have to farm the most boring thing of all time, then the sword didn't work. So I was a bit down in the dumps. To top it all off, before we discuss the build, I then, and I hate to admit this, I've done something, and whether it was through Twitch chat or whether it's through an older Reddit comment when I was trying to submit a bug about this bugged sword because it wouldn't work, I, like an idiot, logged into the wrong website. And I gave my Steam account away, and somebody spent £200 through the Steam wallet, and that cannot be returned. So not only did we have an awful league start, we also had to solve all of these technology issues, and it was just a nightmare. So we're a little bit behind in the league. I had to sort all my PCs. We basically built a new PC. I got all my accounts changed, everything. 2FA, QR codes out the wazoo, everything humanly possible, right? We're okay now. Now, the problem is we're a little bit behind, but we're getting going. And I'd like to demonstrate the build. So what I'll do is I'll take you into Blood Aqueducts and I will show you how the build is functioning. Now, the general premises is totem and totem. We'll get these two buffs up here. This gives us like a super buff for the reason we'll explain because we're a chieftain. I'll have my ice golem out. I have blood rage. I can leap slam. And I'm throwing out volcanic fissure, which would have an MTX on, but somebody in Hungary spent £200 on a... Anyway, that's not the point. Subscribe, comment, like, maybe consider supporting the channel. Thank you very much. So what we'll do here is we war cry here on right click and we begin to just slam around, and what we do is we ignite. We have a little bit of chill factor because we have a touch of cold. My elemental damage is able to shock, and with the shock we are able to jump through and chain explosions a little bit with the impulsors. Now, I am pretty pleased with how the build has gone. As a build that is basically SSF, as a build that no one's really doing, it seems to be working somewhat. And I am quite pleased with how it's all coming together. So far on the Atlas, I think I'm up to tier 8s. Again, I'm behind in the league for various reasons. And that's kind of how the build functions. And it's been working pretty well. Now, the general concept of the build is we take our ONI-GOROSHI with multi-strike, pulverize, fire pen, inspiration, tectonic slam. I'm even tempted to take out pulverize because sometimes I don't do the massive slam at the end, but it's pretty good. I've got an Abyssus. Yes, Abyssus Gaming boys. Shout out to the Abyssus users for the multi. And the general idea is this amulet is allowing me to shock with my elemental damage. I have ignite, shock, chill, so I have 3 ailments. So I have 15%, they take 15% increased damage. And then this is scaling the shock, so shock effect, damage when shocked. We've just got basic rings with accuracy and life, gloves with accuracy and crit chance against shocked enemies, and some Zeri step boots with a bit of pen that we enchanted first time. And I'm trying to work on the armor. This build is not set in stone. I've got attack speed, diamond flask, cinder swallow flask, granite flask, and I think ideally I'd like to go somewhere down here and get a cluster jewel, and also get a thread of hope and maybe clean up the tree a bit. The ascendancy is a chieftain. It's the first time I've ever played a chieftain in like all the years of Path of Exile, so that was one of the main reasons I wanted to try it. It's got cool artwork. So every 50 seconds I get fizz converted to fire damage, and then I also get extra fire damage. I get basically a Zoph's Heart. I get to cover people in ash and it gives me strength. My totems have 100% increase effect, and I can activate them from range, and I don't need to be close to them, so that's really good. And then I also get endurance charge if I've used a war cry. That helps me get endurance charges, which then I expel with tectonic slam, and I get some regen. And the general tree, I don't have a POB for the first time, normally I do, is just basically crit multi, fortify, war cry, bit of spell suppression, lucky spell suppression as well, because the crit chance node is gone. And that's how the build's going. I think it goes quite well. I also have these brands down that cast Assassin's Mark and Wave of Conviction. And honestly, I think for a theory crafted build, it's going pretty well. So we'll run you through a quick strand map so you get an idea of how the build is functioning. But I have been enjoying it. It's just been a really rough league. It was like the bad league start, the really boring Oni farming, the bug, then the bugged weapon, the bugged Spectral Throw, then the bugged Oni, then a hack, you know, then I had to go to work, and it was just not the best, you know, whatever you want to call it, like, league start I've ever had. So if you want to drop a follow or something, you can see on screen I'm getting close to my follower goal. That would be appreciated. Or if you've enjoyed the content over the years and you want to try becoming a YouTube member, I think even some countries get a month free, something like that. We're trying to ramp my stream back up a little bit, so appreciate that. Now you can see we're just in a tier 3 map. We're up to like tier 8s, but it genuinely has pretty good clear. It's a fun playstyle, I will say. Now, I don't know how this is going to scale into the end game. Absolutely no idea, truth be told. No idea if it'll be good, if it'll be bad, if I'll be killing a Guardian, if it'll be doing a tough boss. Who knows? I don't imagine it's going to be any uber killer, but maybe it's something you've not seen before. And I think that's interesting. I think it's kind of neat that we're playing a bit of a unique build here, and we're trying to make it work. So that's kind of the goal for this league. We're trying to make a little bit of a unique build. I don't think many people are playing Impulse's ONI-GOROSHI on a Chieftain. Could be wrong. Maybe I'm about to make the meta, who knows. But this is what I've come up with, and I guess it's kind of like shows the progress that I've kind of made as a PoE player a little bit. You know, you go from Veil Chaos, nice, following builds to trying to make something a little bit wacky. We've got like the 572 damage there, 572 tooltip damage with all that crit multi going on. Not sure what damage we're really at. I'm finding it a little bit difficult to calculate in POB, truth be told. I'm not the best at POB, but we are working towards this. The league mechanic is not my favourite. In fact, it's really not my favourite. It's probably the worst league I've ever played, but I don't want to bore you to tears with that. The actual base game is pretty fun, but it's way too difficult to upgrade this unique weapon. The zone I have to be in to add a passive tree was insanely difficult. But you can see here we dropped the brands, right? And it's pretty, you know, we all know they have a bit of elemental resistance on the old strand, and you know, I think as a build that we're kind of cooking up, I think it's got some potential. Now, if anybody knows anything about shock, or how I can scale maybe Ignite, or if there's any tricks I'm missing with an Oni, as it is the first time I've used this, do let me know in the comments below. Do let me know. If I swap screen and I pull up what we've been kind of doing as the league, I cannot believe you will see here. This is kind of the zone that we're sort of trapped in. So as far as Crucible goes, I was trying to put something on my tree, and I had to run all the way through this map because I'd watched a YouTube guide, which is never fun having to do a YouTube guide before you do the league mechanic. So I watched the YouTube guide, got into the league mechanic, and I knew I had to run to the end because it was going to be difficult. I tried to buy a map that had very little mods. My character was pretty geared, you know, it was doing well. And you can see that once I'd ran and added the mod to the weapon, I tried to clear the area, and I just could not get through. There was insane unique monsters, and this wasn't even a tough one. And yeah, it was so difficult. Personally, I'd like to see the furnace at the beginning. That way, if you don't have a fast build, you can just add the mod to the furnace and then choose to play through the content and risk dying. I don't think that putting the furnace at the end is very fun, because basically the option is run to the end or don't. So if you have a bit of a slow build, you can be in trouble. And it's just way too difficult, some of the mods and some of the zones you've got to be in. and it just feels a bit cheesy. So every time I want to add a mod to a unique weapon, I basically have to ignore the league mechanic, pray I can run to the end, kill a few monsters before they kill me, add the thing on, and then begin clearing. It's just a lot, and I don't really like the order. Again, if I was making it, I would have the furnace at the beginning, you enchant your weapon, that's the reward for finding a geode and finding all of the nodes, and then being able to get to this zone. And then once you've put the mod on, then you play. However, it's a little bit too much for me. Yeah, it's not the best. You'll be able to see here just one final clip. Again, I'm on a very, very easy very easy section here, no crazy mods, and you can see the map is revealed. So I basically ran to the end, and then I thought to myself, right, I'll go back and I'll see what kind of creatures exist. So we're running, you can see the zones filling up, we're running trying to beat the crucible, and then there's a few monsters there. Have to portal in case I'm going to die, because if you die and there's no portal, you can't get back to the beginning because the monsters are so tough. And then you might be able to put something on. And you have to do all of this to put it on a level 1 item that has 3 nodes, because it's a level 1 item. So it's just genuinely not great. Then we have this like huge like random spider that can just one-shot you. You've got all these things going on. It's just a massive struggle, and yeah, if you don't run to the end basically and then put your mod on, you'll probably never get through this unless you've got a giga build, which for me, I'm trying to make my own build, which I think the whole point of PoE is, and it just feels a little bit too tough. This feels too tough to be the core league mechanic. It should be easier to add a mod onto your weapon. That should not be the challenge of the league. So yeah, that's all I've got to say really. I won't bore you to tears with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this little showcase and chat. I know I don't post as much, I'm just a bit busier these days, but I hope you appreciate that I'm still hanging around trying to produce some content for you boys. Yeah, let me know if you've got any ideas to scale this up. Things I'm thinking of are like Berserk and Rage, something like that. Let me know. Cheers. Leave a comment, like, maybe give it a share or whatever. Cheers. Also, I'm on twitch.tv/GGZII if you want to tune in there. Thanks.